Hola, David. Hola.
Hola,
We
¿cómo
good everywhere?
estás, mi amiga?
Hold on, let me see. Let's make sure we're good on these things.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Okay. Yeah, well, we're good
I'm
then.
trying to.
You start screaming.
Hola. Why is it doing this? Why can't I?
Hi, David. Happy 6th week anniversary.
Hi, I'm David.
Are you
I'm doing great.
today? Is it? Hi, David. I'm Tish. Tish Kanani. If you're
Hey,
nasty.
Tish
Oh
Kanati.
yeah, I said it was gonna be good today. I promised.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be amazing.
Uh,
She didn't catch
I kn-
messing up her name.
I know you've been super excited about this episode.
I am stoked. I am very
And
excited
today's
about the people.
episode, yeah,
Go ahead. Go
yes.
ahead. Go ahead.
So
Say it. I
hold
know
on,
you
let
want to
me
say
pull
it.
this logo off real quick. What? No, I'm just. I mean, you ready? I'm about to pull them
Yeah.
in. We have two special
Cool.
guests today, but I'm trying to make sure David. They have Erica Badu says I'm dope. When did she say that?
When I put this shirt on, you
Yeah.
know, yeah, yeah.
Oh my god. Let's bring in our special guests. We
Who that?
have my beloved and your beloved. We have here Miss Erica Pearson and Kashori Fields. Wait, my little. Okay. I'm going to reprogram those. Ladies, welcome to our Weed Time podcast, episode number 6. How are you ladies today?
Good.
I'm wonderful, thank you.
All smiles? Good.
All smiles.
We are super stoked to have you both. David, although David looks like deer caught in the headlights, it looks like he's working on something. So we're gonna act like he's attentive in this, you know.
I'm very attentive in
I'm
this
excited
right
to have a
now.
girls club right now because when my brother and my husband were here.
Yeah, you were outnumbered. It was great. It was a wonderful day.
Yeah. When
And
my
now
brother
look
and
at
husband were here, I didn't get to yeah, it was a boys club. And so yeah.
it was.
So let's take a moment. We're talking about self-love today and mental health. And that's why you two lovely ladies are here with us today so that we can talk about everything that has to do with the stigmas that we don't always talk about. We're getting better, but you know. So before we get into this too far, can you ladies do an introduction? Erica, we can start with you if you'd like.
My name is Erica Pearson. I
Tell us a
live
little bit
in
about your background and where you specialize.
okay. My name is Erica Pearson. I live in Kansas City, Missouri. I am a board certified mental health coach, and a certified life coach. And I just trauma and wholeness coach. So I specialize in mental health, trauma, anything associated with mental health, anything associated with hurts, past, healings. So yeah, that's what I specialize in. Helping folks heal. Yeah.
It's trauma and
Okay.
healing. Yeah,
Yes.
I had to
I'm,
type
I'm
that down because I'm going to come back to that later.
yeah. I'm not gonna let her get off that easy. Ma'am, you need to go ahead and tell people about your podcast too.
Okay. Um,
Look,
I have
that
a
was the whole
podcast.
reason that we had all the flyers, had people send the information, like you got flyers and stuff, how people can get in touch with you in regards to this uh big, topic, So
Okay.
give them all the information so they know how to reach you and how this works. We ain't
Okay.
short stepping.
So
Nobody knows.
okay.
Nobody's
So
getting short
okay. So I have a
creams today.
podcast called
Uh,
Heal Well Podcast. It's actually launching Thursday. It's gonna be my first episode. I have a Facebook page, Erica Pearson, the mental health coach. You can contact me on there.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. And so I have a um coaching
What's the name of the
business called
podcast?
Heal Well. So we're going to talk about like mental health, healing, your past, self care, self love, self worth. Yeah. helping people heal so they can be who God called them to be, loving themselves, being accountable. Yeah. So
Mm,
super excited about it. Yeah.
all right, all right.
I'm excited for you because I think that that's going to reach a lot of people,
Yeah.
and people need stuff like that. Um,
Mhm.
I have for sure we're about to get into you, but I want to just touch on this. I have a friend who has a doctorate in psychology, so she's a doctor of psychology, and she obviously does talk therapy, but she posts a lot of short form videos and short form content just to kind of help people, be cognitive of what you pour into yourself, what
Mhm.
you're pour into your body, what you pour into your mind, things of that nature. And I watch her short form content, but today she spoke about something and it really just touched me where I needed to be. And I really appreciated that. So I know that whatever your podcast is going to do, it's going to touch people in a way that, because you're reaching out in a different, untraditional format of
Mhm.
communication when it comes to therapy. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Put the link in the thing, because my computer keeps making y'all buffer.
Mm.
So if
I
you can
thought it
put
was
the
something weird going on there.
David, if you can put the link to her podcast or her Facebook page in the comments, so people can, subscribe, follow, like,
I
share, all of that
I
with
got it.
her podcast that's launching on Thursday, right?
Yep. It's launching Thursday. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
okay.
So, Miss Kishori Fields,
Good
welcome
evening.
to
Good
our
evening.
podcast,
Thank you for having me. I'm
Miss
excited to be here. Y'all
Kishori.
know I'm
What's
not
going on
the.
with you? Give us
Uh,
give us a lowdown and like
I didn't hear you.
I said, don't take any shorts, like David said.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it.
Oh Lord, here we go.
Right.
Okay, so and basically in a nutshell, I am a licensed mental health counselor. I specialize in working with children from the developmental ages of five and up. I also do, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I work with families, couples. Um, if you're, getting married, premarital counseling, couples counseling, all of those different things. I have been licensed with the Virginia Board of Counseling since 2019. And I am also registered with the Virginia Board of Counseling to provide supervision services to residents that are actually working on licensure as well. At the current moment, I am working with a contract to include the military. I'm one of their military family life counselors, and I also do outpatient therapy, working with college students that giving them that support that they need during the transition into college and out of college as well. So have a lot of great services to offer. I enjoy what I do. It's really my passion. I haven't come up with any fun ideas of how to do things like podcasts or anything yet, but I did have a few ideas in the making. But in due time, some extra things will be coming as well. So that's it in a nutshell.
And I'm super excited to have you, Kishore, because I tap into you and your resources whenever I need you. Like, Kishore. But Kishore and I worked on the military contract together, and
Hmm.
her and another one of our mutual friends, like, Tish, get your licensure so we can start a practice. And they both got theirs, and let's just say we're doing a podcast.
Dang, man, you just make it sound like our
No,
podcast ain't doing
no,
no
I'm
stuff.
kidding. I'm kidding. It was a joke. No, I'm super proud of you. Kishori, you did your master's twice, right? You have two different
I
ones.
have two different masters. The first one is in clinical community psychology. And then after I decided I did not want to go with the PsyD, I stepped over onto the counseling side. And that's how I ended up with the marriage and family therapy license and degree.
Right. And you were going to go overseas for a little bit.
That was the plan to the current job that I have now has the option of working inside of the US and outside of the US. The plan was to go outside of the US for a little while, but the Lord saw a little different at that moment. So that's going to be put on hold for a little while longer.
Excuse me. Well, I know that whatever you do, you're gonna definitely put your whole heart into it because that's just what you are.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I actually, David knows Erica personally, and obviously I know you personally, but I got an opportunity to talk to Erica on the phone before, I think it was last week. And I told her, I said, just talking to you, your spirit moves me, and I think that's super important because there are so many times people get into these, I need to talk to somebody, and they just don't meet up with the right person, and their spirits, so the person doesn't get what they need from the therapy or the coaching or anything that the services that they're reaching out for. So that's kind of like how we're gonna dive into this. David, I know you have like a rack of questions because you have been burning up.
I mean, I don't have a rack of questions, but it's almost kind of like I was talking to Erica about it because it's like when you start going after this elephant in a room that is mental health, it's like so many different layers to it. And the biggest thing now, there's a lot of people that say that, they're mental health coaches. And, I was talking to Erica, it's like when she was saying what she is as far as her certifications go, it's like, look, not everybody can say that they're certified. A lot of people will say that, yeah, I'm a mental health coach. Yeah, you talk good, but have you been through
Hmm.
the process of being certified, saying that you can help somebody? And then what's the difference between that and being a licensed therapist? Because some people might think therapy and having a mental coach are the same thing,
Right.
So I would love to hear what these lovely ladies have to say about this because, there are a lot of people that are dealing with things and hey, they need somebody to talk to.
Knowing the right direction of, you may
Yeah.
not. So that actually, we both had that on our interview questions. What is the difference between therapy and coaching when it comes to guidance? Because they seem super parallel, but
Okay, so therapy focuses on like the past and the present, when coaching more so focused, or therapy focuses on the past or the present, when coaching focuses more on the present and the future. So therapy is like going to your past, trying to go to your childhood, try to dig up the roots. But
Go for the
coaching
trauma.
just more so, coaching just focusing on the now, and then what can I do to help you, to give you the skills, the practical tools that you need to move forward. So that's the difference.
okay.
So
So
let me ask.
therapy is like unpacking everything, and
Yes.
coaching is because therapy can unpack and also give guidance. Coaching is more so providing the guidance and kind of walking you through the process in a way, because I know
Yeah.
that therapy does the same too. Okay, so
Yeah.
So and
with sorry,
another
go ahead,
thing.
David.
Hold on, real quick. There's so much going on right here.
I know. Go ahead.
So would you say that with therapy, it's more of a one-on-one type deal, and then with coaching, it could be like a session for multiple people? Is that how that
So
works?
both therapy and coaching, you can either do 1-on-1 and group.
Okay.
Um the difference is when it comes to therapy, it's like really digging in again to your past. So say you focus like coaching, I have specialization in trauma, so I can help with trauma, but therapy, I mean, it's licensed, right?
Mhm.
So we're coaching, I'm not a therapist. I'm going to school to be a therapist, but I'm not a therapist. So I
Okay.
can't go as deep as I can as a therapist. And I think a lot of people need to really understand the difference in that,
Yeah,
because it
Hey,
is a big
going
difference.
deeper.
Kashira, you
Yeah.
want to go ahead and expound on that?
Yes. The thing is, coaching, what Miss Pearson is describing is what we call solution focused therapy techniques. Because what a therapist is going to do, a therapist is going to go, like she said, deeper into a deeper level, but it is more of a clinical nature. We are looking at hardcore mental health, diagnosing, assessment, looking at what did happen in the past, what's going on currently, and what mental health illness are we possibly treating. So usually when we look at solution focused therapy, okay, what's your problem and how are we going to fix it, so to speak. But when we get past that point where we have to start, as we call it, digging down in the trenches, we are looking at more of a situation where we have to go back and clean up a whole lot of stuff. We have to go back to the very beginning. And I always say we have to go back and look at where the behavior or where the issue began. We have to retrain the thinking. We have to look at those maladaptive thoughts and figure out how to turn them into what is supposed to be. So a lot of the times when we're dealing with serious mental health, we are not going to get results in solution focused time. Solution focused time is usually between 10 and 12 sessions, depending on what insurance is willing to pay for, because unfortunately, a lot of our time constraints are going to depend on what your insurance is. So with coaching or with solution focused therapy, you're looking around maybe 10 to 12 sessions. When you start getting into the things that I treat in outpatient, 12 sessions may not be enough to do that. And it makes it more of a long-term clinical need where I need to be monitoring different types of symptoms. Your coaching and your solution focus may look at day-to-day things that they may prevent you from being the best you can be. But when we get past that and we start saying, this is a more long-term or clinical need, we're looking at whether we need to be doing different therapeutic techniques. We're looking at whether we need to make referrals for medication. We need to be looking at whether we need inpatient therapy or any type of other service that will provide that care. And a lot of the times, the license is very important, because when you have a license in any state, really, you are given the rights to practice independently of someone else, which puts you in charge of everything. So anything that happens during that time that that client is in your care, you are the one they're looking at to see what was going on. So when you're looking at coaching, they're not held to the standards as we are as far as that, because when you're doing a lot of coaching, you're not practicing independently. That's why when residents come along, when they're you remember, Tish, when I was in my residency, I talked a lot about my supervisors. Okay, when you're in the licensure process, your actions and your work is tied to the person who's supervising you. So when things come up, their license is the one that's looked at. So now when you are with coaching, their work and their efforts are tied to someone else's license until they are out of the residency. Once you become licensed, you may consult with your supervisors. I still consult with my supervisors to this day. I have this little situation. What do you think? We consult with each other, but I am not legally obligated to consult with anybody because I am an independent practice licensed therapist now.
Right. So, and that's the same thing with medical clinicians. Years of billing, you have to bill under supervising physicians and things like that, because you have to still have the supervisor review or the supervising physician review the clinical documents.
Absolutely.
But when you're and I think that touches on what Erica said, when you're doing what you both do independently, that's why she's doing, what did you call it? Solution focused therapy?
Yes. And the thing with coaching, solution focus is not the only technique, but what she described just now is what in the therapy world we call solution focus, because there are a lot of different things that coaches can do. Coaches can, and Ms. Pearson, please correct me if I'm wrong, coaches can also do career therapy, career counseling. They can do to a certain degree, mental health counseling, but it's not to the degree that a licensed or a residential clinician can do it. So it's so many different things. I'm struggling.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. Yeah.
Like I said,
you're
a lot of layers.
I never went through the coaching process. I skipped and went in a different direction. So a lot of it, I was not able to perform and actually do the work to get the best understanding of it. But say, for instance, if we were looking at something like Gestalt's The Empty Chair is one of my favorite. Have you heard of that, Ms. Pearson?
Mm-mm.
Gestalt's Empty Chair. Okay, that's a therapy technique. So once we started using the therapy techniques in my residency, by law, we were not allowed to call it Gestalt's Empty Chair, but we use the technique. So it's a lot of technicalities and legal and liabilities and all of those technical terms, because I've been using the techniques for years, but until 2019, I was not allowed to call it that.
Because you weren't licensed yet.
Because I was not licensed to practice independently. And everything
Gotcha.
that I did when I did that had to go through my supervisor. He literally had to have his eye on every move I made. So he would walk me through how to use a lot of the techniques, because I could not do it alone without permission. And the board was not going to give you certain rights and permissions until you had your license.
Gotcha.
Okay. So let me ask you guys this, like, when you got into this field, clearly that you both, we know you both have obviously a really big heart to do this. How do you separate your personal emotions from, like, Erica, you deal with trauma and healing. So I'm almost positive that you deal with some really tough situations. How do you separate your personal emotions from being able to provide the best service for your clients?
It's about them. That's the mindset. I say it's about them, and it's not about like my emotions or what I go through. So I'm just focused on helping them get through it, listening to them, allowing them to talk rather than me talking. So I just allow them to talk, and then try to provide them with the solutions, try to figure out their behaviors and what they need to change. So it's difficult, but because you when you have a big heart, you just want to hold on to somebody and just, calling them, say it's okay, but just going in there and saying, okay, it's about them, and just know that they need to get through it, because I went through my process. And so I know that I don't want nobody else to stay there. So that's how I separate it. It's trying to pull somebody else out. Yeah.
And Kishore, you do with children, so I know that's got to be, especially because how much you love the kids. Like, I know, like, maybe everybody else may not know as much, like they could probably tell, but I know like how much you love kids. So how do you separate yourself to provide the best service to your clients?
In all honesty, in the very beginnings, I did not do very well with that at all. I was still, unseasoned, fresh to the game. And it took time, because there were a lot of nights I went home and cried and cried and cried because I could not do what I felt was necessary, because the client has to put the work in. I give you the technique, but you have to put the work in. And when I couldn't do it for them, I found myself in a lot of distress. I would cry, I would get depressed myself, but then I had to look at the fact that at the end of the day, one, I am the professional, and two, if I'm falling all to pieces, how am I going to be of any help to anybody else? Yeah. So over the years, I toughened up and put on my big girl socks, and, just had to understand, if I'm not right within, I cannot be of any help to anybody else. So there are still cases to this day where I have to pull myself together, and I have to pray and say, Lord, give me the strength and restore my peace, because I am hurting. But it's about acknowledging and being aware of where you are, because if I am able to say, that situation that I discussed during a session really touched me, it hurt me, I'm able to move forward. Because we have to understand, just because we are therapists does not make us gods or goddesses. We are human beings. And I say all the time, I am human before I am anything else. And we have to be honest with ourselves about where we are. And that's why it is always, always good to have people that in the field to bounce these things off of, because even though we're not allowed to discuss our situations with other people, I can call up a colleague and say, I had a situation, I can't tell you what the situation is, but I am feeling heartbroken. I am feeling upset. I am feeling angry.
Mm,
And then we talk about the techniques that we give everybody else and we work each other through it. But being honest about where you are and being able to say, this hurt me or bothered me, instead of just bottling it all up in and not talking about it and trying to play hero and superwoman or superman,
Mhm.
that's where we go wrong. So
you
it's
Man,
sound
easy
like
for me
you
I
now.
sound
always
like
I always wanted
sorry.
to know that, who counsels the counselor, that type of thing.
Right.
They
Because,
said in Counseling 101, a therapist without a therapist is a damn fool.
Ah,
A therapist without a therapist is a
Yeah.
damn fool. And they are actually right, because at the end of the day, we are the dumping grounds for
yes. Come
people's
on.
problems.
Mhm.
We
You
have to
take on so
have
much.
somewhere to dump in order for us to be effective.
Mhm.
If
Mm,
so
I
preach,
can't
preacher.
if I can't be in touch with my own feelings and I can't be honest about my own feelings, how in the world am I going to expect somebody else to be honest with me about theirs?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Transparency is
mhm.
important. Now, I'm not saying get in there and tell all your business, but I have said to some clients sometimes, transparent moment here. I
Yeah.
understand you were upset about that conversation. When I had that conversation one time, I was a little disturbed too.
Mhm.
Showing humanity and
Yes.
showing
Yeah.
that you are human and that you don't sit on a pedestal any higher than anybody else is how
Mhm.
that's gonna work. And
Yeah.
just being honest and being real with myself versus trying to be something I'm not is how I get through a lot of those situations.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
that's
know,
definitely
I
a
think it's,
good thing.
I think
Sorry,
it's
go
a
ahead.
delay. So how about this? Like, if we got a question, let's throw a hand up so that we know that somebody's
Okay.
gonna talk, so we don't talk over each other. Go ahead, Tish. You had a question.
No. I was just agreeing with what she was saying. I was actually gonna kind of dive into what I know you want to get into, but
Yeah,
do your
yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah. That's
Cause
why I
I,
was gonna
cause
throw my hand up so you
you
know.
you're
So
like
I'm
a
not.
school kid, like
Yeah, yeah.
let's
I
go,
want to
let's go.
know. I want to know. I want to know. So my biggest thing is like with COVID, the whole lockdown situation, it threw a lot of people.
Mhm.
So I want to know, did you guys have like a influx of a lot of new clients or new people seeking out therapy, because a lot of us were stuck with ourselves for a long time, and in those four walls. So you had either Netflix or you just had a lot of time to think because you weren't supposed to be outside. So, can you describe like how so many different things kind of popped out on people because they weren't able to go and do what they normally would do, like go to the bar or just go get a haircut, because this was a normal everyday habit.
Right.
This is what we did every day, and then all of a sudden, all hell broke loose, and you couldn't do anything.
Mm.
Did
Oh
you have
yeah.
to have a lot of Erica? Did you end up getting a lot of new clients for coaching services during that? Because I'm assuming you both do telephonic or virtual counseling and therapy.
So I'm new to the game, so I didn't do
Oh,
coaching
okay.
during COVID. So I'll leave it to Miss Fields.
Okay. Well, as we discussed, marriage and family therapy is one of my things. On that side of the totem pole, I had so many couples
Mm.
beating down my door. And a lot of it was because they figured out during crisis what they married and who they married.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
figured
Mm.
out I didn't know my spouse as well as I thought I knew my spouse.
Mm,
I am wondering, Miss Fields, do I want to stay with my spouse at this moment?
Mm.
mm.
Because
And this
I
was COVID.
literally had people saying, I don't
Yeah.
even know if I want to stay married anymore, because that time frame, it brought a lot of families together for good purposes, but there were also some that it didn't do very well for, because now you are faced with this person that you're married to. You are spending more time with this person than you're used to spending time with, and you have time to get to know this person more than you did. And
Mm,
Right.
I can tell a lot of the couples that got married before they asked the big questions, before they had the serious conversations,
Mm.
before they took the time to know who they married, because I had never in my lifetime heard so many, I didn't know my person could do that. Well,
mm.
did you ask?
Wow.
And the
Right.
question and the answer was
Or did
no.
you pay attention to some of the red
Exactly.
flags? Yeah.
The red flags were ignored. The red flags were overlooked because maybe I can change him or her. So all of that stuff during COVID came back to bite us a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Individually, I got a lot of extroverts that were losing their minds. Because you know me, Tish, I'm an introvert. So when I'm sitting at home looking at TV, I was in all of my glory.
Mhm.
Well,
But
I'm gonna say, hold on, before you go a little bit further, I can actually vouch for the stress or distress or just the tiredness that you had, because remember, I came down that summer when they kind of let up a little bit. I said, let me go ahead and fly down here and visit Kashori. And I remember one of the days I was at the hotel and we were supposed to go to dinner or something. Me and Kashori have this routine whenever I go to Virginia. And we were supposed to go to dinner, and she was like so defeated. Like, she got in that hotel and just laid on the couch in my hotel room. And I'm like, Kashori, you ready? She's like, I was like, all right, well, McDonald's it is. Like, we're not going nowhere. I ended up cooking at her house one of the nights we were supposed to go out because she was just so busy. We normally, when I'm in Virginia, like, we're always kicking it. We doing something, going to 15 million restaurants, shopping, crabbing, whatever. And that was one of the times we did not do a lot. I cooked at her house and she was like, just bring a bottle. Like, let's just hang out. Like, she was just busy, you know?
Mhm.
And that's
yeah,
probably
we
what
were
taking on
swamped.
everybody else's. Yeah. That was
And that's what
probably
it
one of the
is
craziest.
when we take on so much, we have to release as much as we're taking on. And that's where I had to learn too. I'm like, look, you I'm trying to put this professionally. You are not Captain Save Everybody. Y'all know where I'm going with that one. You are
Sorry
not
about that.
Captain
We
Save
can't-
Everybody.
You can't
I don't
save
know.
everybody.
You
Yeah,
know
so I
what?
had to
Some
remind
people need
myself
saving.
that. But a
I
lot
want
of
to be saved. Look. Sorry.
the extroverts literally went off because it's just like they felt like they were being locked in closets. And I had people, oh my God, I'm just so glad to see another human. But it put a lot of people in touch with themselves as well. Because when you are forced to be with yourself, it's not always pretty.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a
So-
lot of who am I got a lot of who am I supposed to be versus what am I? And a lot of times when I ask people, who are you? The first thing they want to discuss is their degrees and their jobs. I say yes, and wonderful, and I'm proud of the accomplishments, but who are you?
Ooh. 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 Ooh.
We
Ooh,
struggle.
Yeah.
Ooh. 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 Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, Tish got
I'm
something
struggling.
good.
You got-
Well,
you got
no,
questions?
because I texted this to David earlier before I went to the doctors. I had a bunch of doctor's appointments today. And I texted to David because I said I want to touch on this topic because I think that this is going to be important. I'm going to tell y'all about an experience, and I don't tell, because Shori knows, and I shared this with Erica when we talked on the phone, that when it comes to me and my mental health, I'm one of those people that are guilty of, I can handle this myself. So when I'm really, really going through something, I reach out to Kashori. She knows that. I'll be like, listen, I'm like, I'm feeling whatever, and I'll reach out to her. Erica and I kind of talked about, like, sometimes people like me, I'm fortunate. I have a lot of clinicians that I know that I can reach out to because Shori's always my go-to. But in that same thing, I had, I wouldn't even say it was therapy. I don't even know how to, it was counseling, right? For a specific topic, right? I told Erica, I kind of shared with her, I chose my counselor based on a list that I was provided from my EAP with the federal government. And so I kind of did, and Kashori, we kind of, looked at, what I'm talking about when I'll get into this. But a lot of the times when you do searches based on your insurance and the providers that are registered in your insurance, it'll say, some type of demographic information or some type of identifying information, female, African American, specializes in, trauma, specializes in LGBTQ, specializes in Alcohol Anonymous, or whatever the case may be. Like, you'll see those types of criteria that are listed on these people when you're looking to find them, right? And so I chose based on that, okay, she's a woman, she's African American, she looks like me, right? And she specializes in what I need to talk to someone about. So the first problem that I ran into was that she was way on the other side of town from where I worked. So her office hours weren't flexible for me, but she still fit into the criteria. I feel like she could help me more than some of the other people that were on that list. So I was like, okay, I'll eat that one up. But when I got there, yes, she was African American, but she wasn't my kind of African American, you know. She wasn't, and I say that so gently and as professionally as possible. You know, she's married to a surgeon. She grew up in Gardner. She golfs every day. She doesn't have the same experiences and exposure as I had. So her African American was just
African American.
something on the list, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not only that though, but the experiences that I had, she wasn't trying to, I think she had to be more of a coach because she wasn't trying to unpack, you know, how I got to the point that I had gotten to. She was more so trying to make me feel bad about the decisions that I had made so that I could change myself, you know? And it backfired so badly because at one point she said, at the time Mike and I were just dating, bring him in and he can sit down and you can confess all your sins to him. And I'm like, what? And that's what I did. So that experience with her completely changed my perspective of clinicians and therapy. I was like, if this is what I have to deal with and all I can do is just pick, it's like picking from a sperm donor catalog, you know. I don't really get to know you. And I feel like she wasn't relatable and she specialized in what I needed, but she wasn't relatable. So one of the biggest things I have is like, you have relatability versus specialization, right? And in instances, and I'll just kind of break it down because I see y'all are like, wait a minute, kind of puzzled. Like, let's say for instance, I know you do, but I just want to, so y'all can just kind of attack this topic because this is really important for me. So let's say relatability versus specialization in someone who's looking for Alcohol Anonymous. They want someone who is relatable, and a lot of times your sponsors are people who've gone through what you're going through, right? So that's relatability that works for them. And they specialize in alcoholism because they've gone through it. They know what you're going to go through. They kind of know the roadblocks that'll come and the temptations. So that's good. Relatability and specialization in that realm are good. Then you have relatability and specialization in something like someone in LGBTQ community or African American. Like, you can't choose an African American just because it says they're African American and they don't specialize in what you need. So if you're going for like some type of assault, you want to see a woman, you want to see an African American woman, but she doesn't specialize in assault. She specializes in trauma. So now you may not have the specialization, but you have the relatability, right? So it's like, I guess my question in it is like, how important is both of them equally balanced, or is one more important than the other? Erica, you were like, you're like, David, I got so much to say. Let's go.
So, it's kind of tough. Because I think it's equal, right? I think that just because you might relate to somebody does not mean that necessarily is the best person for you. And just because somebody specializes in something doesn't mean that person is relatable enough. Case in point, your situation. So just like a therapist or a coach has a 15-minute consultation, yes, that is time for you to tell them what you need, but that's also time for you to ask questions, because you just asking, you get into that person just because they're the same color as you, that person can totally turn you off. And that makes you like not want to go to a therapist, and that will make the situation worse. Because if you already go in there depressed, right? You go talk to that therapist and you can leave out of there more depressed than you was. Right. So something that person might say might trigger you to do something. So it's very important. Like I told you, it's very important that you interview your therapist and your coach.
Yeah.
because you have to make sure that that person is the best for you. So
And a good fit. Yeah, I didn't do that. And at that point, I didn't, obviously I didn't know that. This was before I even knew
yeah.
you, Kishori. So go ahead, David. Sorry.
Okay, so I agree with Erica on that. I mean, that relatability is necessary because if you can't relate to that person, you're telling this person you're being vulnerable with this person, and
Hmm.
and they're not being attentive to what you're saying. You're already hurt, and you're already at a point where you're just trying to figure out and unpack, and they're not addressing these issues correctly. You'll leave out of there broken or more heartbroken, than where you started at. And I mean, I've experienced that. I had a therapist that I was dealing with. I mean, it was wonderful, but she had things going on too. And I tried to be be flexible with her because I understood she had stuff going on and she was fitting me into her schedule. But then it started getting to the point where it's like I'm giving you money and talking to you, and this doesn't feel like we're really addressing anything anymore. It just feels like you just taking the money and it's like, all right, then we'll catch you next week. No, no.
Right. And that was exactly my experience. It was just like, she was just like, all right, come back next week. And I'm like, but we didn't even, like, there
We're
was
not
no,
addressing anything.
and yeah. And that was one of the times, and everybody that knows me, Erica, you're probably the only one on this panel that doesn't know me as well as everybody else, but David has known me for a long time, Kashori as well too. And they know, like, I'm probably one of the toughest people and strongest people. So when I have a weak moment,
Mhm.
it's hard for me to even admit sometimes that I have weak moments. But when I do have a weak moment, and I'm also a Gemini, which probably makes this 20 times worse. But when I have a weak moment, if you're not attentive to both of y'all, if you're
hard
not,
headed. Yes,
yes, hard
yes,
headed. Okay,
yes,
whatever. But if
yes.
you're
Say
not
it.
attentive to what I'm trying to say, like if I'm trying to talk to you and you're not paying attention to me, or if what we're talking about is not, like, you're not helping me resolve or unpack what I'm trying to resolve, now I done bottled it up. Now I'm
Yep.
like, you know what? It's cool. Don't worry about it. I'm good. I'm
And then that
Gucci,
wall comes back up.
Exactly.
Mhm.
I put it back in the jar, like, you know what? I could do this on my own. Because that's what I told Erica when we talked on the phone, like, that's what I've been dealing with when it comes to my grief and
Hmm.
depression from losing my grandfather, and my physical, struggles I've been going through with my health and everything else. Like, it takes a toll on a person, and it's
Man.
hard to be the strong one for everybody else when inside you're being weak, like Kashori said earlier, pouring from an empty cup.
Hmm.
Yes, sir, David, Mr. Porter. I'm
I was just
sorry,
saying.
Mr. Spin I am.
Okay.
That the hand raising is getting me. Sorry.
And, so you brought something up, grief. I think we've all experienced that, and
Mhm.
there is no set manual on how to process grief.
Yeah.
Um, and it's hard to express that, especially when there's people out there that still have both of their parents or have grandparents, and they never lost that close one that
Mhm.
they've had all their life. So when it comes down to that time, it's like when I lost my father, I didn't know how to express it.
Mhm.
And during that time
Yeah.
I was married, and I was having
Excuse me.
issues with my ex-wife, and it was like she was asking me like, how long you gonna be like this? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't
Mhm.
know. It was like I didn't know how to express my feelings. I didn't have anybody to talk to. You know, I would just start crying for no reason. And it was just like that whole suffering in silence thing because you just didn't know what to do because
Mhm.
something's not right. And you're screaming on the inside and then trying to keep a straight face on the outside, and you know having those people there, people like Erica, people like Kashuri, it's almost like if I would have known it back then, I would have sought it out a lot quicker, a lot sooner, because
Mhm.
Right.
man, it led to a lot of lonely nights because of me wanting to explode. You know, it's like
Yeah.
walking on that knife's edge, not knowing which way you're gonna fall.
Mhm.
And
So go ahead.
It's interesting that you say that because when you say if I would have known back then, so many, and this we've talked about this over and over, so many people in the African American community didn't talk about these things. So we weren't as well versed in how to seek help and therapy or just like coaching or anything of that nature, like how to determine, like even today, up until these ladies gave us an explanation, I wouldn't have known the difference of whether I needed help from someone like Erica or I'm sorry, Miss Pearson, or help from somebody like Miss Fields. Y'all calling each other Mrs. and Miss, so I forgot to do this.
I want a cookie now. She's like, you got Miss Fields.
And the soft ones too.
Soft ones, boy. Them must be right.
Hit the mall running.
Get you running.
But
get you running.
I mean, that's something that, so in the Black community we don't talk about it that much. So in reality, I wouldn't know. Do I need like I've been dealing with my grief and depression and things. Would I need, how would I know if I need coaching versus therapy? But I think they would play hand in hand. Like, let me get a little bit of talk therapy in with a clinician. And then after that, as we go through our treatment plan, then I can switch over to coaching so you can help and guide me through and give me some skills and things. I think they both could play really, which you saying you're going to go, you're in school to finish and get that licensure is super important in your field because you'll be able to do both. And that's really important because, like I was telling you, everybody, I talk to Kashori a lot about whatever I have going on, but at the same token, like we're best friends. So what if there's a situation that I feel like, okay, I want to be able to talk to someone else who may be, I don't think Kashori is biased by any means. She knows how to take that best friend hat off and put that clinician hat on with me. She's very good at that. But what if it was somebody else that's like, that's my best friend. She's going to judge me because she was in the trenches with me. So maybe I should step outside of that and see somebody else. And,
that is a big concern in the counseling field because there's another girlfriend of mine that we had that same conversation. And I told her, I said, I can offer you advice or guidance, but to be your actual therapist, for one, it's an ethical violation. And two, you have to look at it from my standpoint. When you have a relationship, no matter what the relationship is with someone, we are human. And if, say, for instance, Tish was dating John and John and her had an argument and she called me and she cried, of course we can talk about it. And yes, I could treat her just like I would anyone else. But Tish came to me 2 days later and said he got violent with me and laid hands on me. Depending on who I am as a person, I'm stepping out of counselor mode and I'm stepping into I'm gonna be somebody's behind mode. So that is why they ask us not to be that person for people that we love and care about, because even though we know not to take that route and say I'm gonna be partial to this person and I'm gonna be partial to this situation only, it still can happen. Because any of my girlfriends that tells me that somebody's laying hands on them, I don't want to hear nothing you have to say. I don't care about your justification. You on my hit list, you on my enemy list at that point. So to avoid all of that, yes, they will ask us not to play that role, but that doesn't mean that we can't provide guidance. And I tell my friends all the time, I cannot be your therapist, but I can help guide you.
And that's what you do for me. And I appreciate it so much, especially through this whole grief. It was just, I mean, not that I've overcome it, and I have to be transparent on this episode because so many people are not. I had to really think about my approach with that. But it's super important because people sometimes can go based on what you do or say. Yes, sir, Mr. DJ Spin. I am. And Kashori, I don't know what happened to your microphone, but now you sound like a robot kind of.
It might be like you're holding our phone.
Oh, are you holding the bottom of your phone?
No.
Okay, we'll see how
All
that
right.
works out. But
So,
Okay.
so we had Janika Smith, which is
I was about to
my
ask you to touch on that.
yeah, that's my sister. I
Can
don't
she
know why she.
elaborate that second
So
sentence?
don't
Is
talk
she
about it. We don't air out dirty laundry. Prayers I always answer it. It's never therapy, and that was leading into a question that I was going to ask you guys because I know Miss Pearson is a woman of faith. Shuri is a woman of faith.
Right.
Mhm.
So how do you balance that out? Because a lot of times in the black community, they don't tell us to go for therapy. They say seek God, prayer, which I'm not saying that that's the wrong way of doing it, but oh, we lost her.
That's all right. She'll come back. Go ahead.
So Erica, you could go ahead and speak on this being a Christian and
Mhm.
how do you work that? Because in the black community, it's like, all right, baby, go ahead and seek God. There she is.
Yeah, I got
Uh,
her.
all right.
Yeah.
Seek God, baby, and everything will be all right. But then it's like, okay, I can't hear from God right now. My mind is too jacked up to focus on what I need to do. You know, how do you talk to or approach somebody that has that mindset?
So there
Good
is
question.
how do I well, let me just say there is a stigma in our community about mental health. And that is something that we need to really reduce is that stigma, right? We are told if we don't talk about it, it didn't happen.
Mm,
Okay. In our families, we definitely need to talk about trauma because if we do not talk about the past, it's just gonna go into the next generation, right? So I believe first off that we definitely need to start having communications and talking about it. Prayer is necessity, right? But sometimes chemically there's things going on in somebody's brain. So that's why therapy is necessary. Sometimes medication is needed. Yes, prayer is necessity. However, when somebody's brain is just there is a chemical imbalance, then prayer alone is honestly, I'm a Christian. I love me some Jesus, okay? But prayer alone is not going to do it. Like you can talk to Jesus as much as you can, but that sometimes if you're depressed, you don't want to pray. You can't pray because the enemy got your mouth quiet. So
right.
you want to be able to talk to somebody.
Right.
So yeah, just telling them therapy is okay. I mean, you talk to Jesus, you go to your pastor and talk to somebody. So what's the difference of talking to a professional?
Right. I'm
Like
glad you said that.
your pastor might not have the credentials. All they might say is, "Okay, read your Bible and pray." Okay, well, pastor, that's what I'm doing, and it's not working. So
Hmm.
just telling them, you go talk to your pastor. Okay, what's the difference? Like, what's the difference than talking to your pastor? Talking to a therapist, it's really no different. I mean,
Other
and
than a licensure, of course.
they're not even a
Um,
licensure. So all they're going to say is, okay, well, have you read your Bible today? Have you prayed? The Holy, and the thing is that we are called. She's called to be a therapist. Being a therapist, like I said, I'm going to school to do that. It's a calling. This stuff is something that you just can't do. You have to be called to do this type of stuff because
yes.
it's heavy.
Hmm.
And you can it's a sometimes it could be it's a good burden to have, but it's a calling to be a therapist or to be it's a calling. It's something that
Hmm.
everybody's not called to be a therapist.
Yeah,
Point blank.
yeah.
Mm.
Everybody's not called
That's
to be
that's
a
true
coach.
because not everybody can and help people out. They don't have that
Everybody's not called to be a
the
doctor.
apathy. They
So
can't help people or touch people where they are, and that's the
yeah.
biggest thing. You
Oh,
have to have a heart for people, and you have to
Hmm.
have a heart to deal with broken people because broken
Yes.
people have a tendency to hurt other people because they lash out and they don't know that they're lashing out. Go ahead,
Yeah.
for sure.
I couldn't have said it better, Miss Pearson, because at the end of the day, it is okay to have the Lord. It is okay to
Hmm.
utilize prayer and have that therapist as well. Because if you really look at it, we were, like you said, called into this. God created us for this purpose.
Yes.
That is my belief. I believe that when I was being created, the Lord sat down with my soul and everything that I am, and this is what I'm here for, because the Lord knew we were entering into a world of sin. He knew that we were entering into a world of chaos and
Mm.
heartache and pain. So he placed all of us here that were chosen to do this type of work, because in order to get closer to God, we need to have the right mindset.
Yeah.
I've seen them many days, and I know people think I might be, being a little extra or not being truth, but I'm gonna let the Lord handle them on that one, because there have been days where little old me would literally be in a session and a message would come. I knew the message was coming from the Lord because it didn't come from me. I would give the message, and then I got a client literally tearing up saying, "This is what I needed the most," and just didn't realize it. So God blesses us with many things in life. Why would we not use the gifts and the blessings that were sent? He didn't sit me here. He didn't sit Miss Pearson here just because he thought we would be cute as therapists. He set us here to
Woo!
do the
Hot
work.
mama.
Right.
He
Yeah.
set us here with the idea in mind. Look, we are going to be dealing with faulty mindsets. We are going to be dealing with mindsets that are
Mm.
chemically imbalanced. We are
Yes.
going to be dealing with confused people, scared people, whatever the case may be, troubled people. We have a world full of those things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send some of my children down here that have been trained in these areas, and I give them the knowledge that they need to assist these people, because it's almost like you can't bring a troubled mind to the Lord. And I know somebody would say, "Well, yeah, you can, but that's the purpose in having us, because we are the ones that are assisting the troubled mind with getting there."
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's so sorry. Go ahead, David.
No, go
continue.
ahead. Go ahead. You had a thought. You had a thought.
Yeah, I just think that that's super like it's super important. I'm trying to say this in a way that doesn't like when you're called for this and you're dealing with people like even some of the lighter areas like they go ahead, David. Go ahead, because I got to get back my.
You
I
gotta
have
get
to
your thought
get it. Well,
Okay.
I know what I want to say, but I know that it's gonna dig deeper and kind of throw us into another topic. So go
Yeah.
ahead.
So
You do your thing.
I think we really starting to get into some things right now. You brought up dealing with chemical imbalances and stuff like that. So a lot of time, and then Erica, you also brought up what's the difference between talking to somebody like the pastor or having a sponsor with Alcohol Anonymous or anything like that. With life, there's so many different things. I go to a church called Reach KC, and I tell people all the time about Reach because I feel like it is basically the example of what they said that, come as you are. There are a
Mm.
lot of people coming to that church that are recovering addicts, ex felons, people that are actually in transitional housing. And, and the church actually has those housings that they sponsor people. And it's crazy that you say that. It's like, what's the difference when you have a sponsor, when dealing with that? When I actually talked to one of my friends there at the church, and he was just telling me, how he's dealing with addiction and how it went from him going through the process and him actually talking to other people that are coming up going through the process. Just like, Erica is going through the process to become a licensed therapist. Kishori's already done that path. There's a teacher and a student type aspect of it. But coming back to my thought is, we all need somebody to get through this.
Yeah.
We all need
Yes.
somebody to get through
Amen.
this.
Yes,
And
we do.
we don't
Amen.
realize that, sometimes you have to sit and be that student to understand and learn. Some
Amen.
people they have ADHD and it takes them a while to get a grasp of it and focus it, and then other people they just take off and go.
Yeah.
But we all need to talk to somebody. No man is an island, no woman is an island. Isolation
Absolutely.
is the worst thing to do for somebody, and then
Yes.
understanding what it is when there's something wrong. So
Ooh,
uh,
ooh. Mm.
I
Preach
need
on,
to
David.
I need to know, what are these steps, or what should somebody do if they're wanting to know, like, what path should I go? Am I looking for something that's just having a talk counseling, or is there something chemically imbalance that's making it hard for me to focus and do what I need to do, because some people are trying to break the habit of a lifestyle, or they've been through so many different things, the trauma, stuff like this. This is all I know in this circle. How do I divert from this, break out of that stronghold that's on my life?
So usually, so you can do a coach or a therapist, right? So if someone comes to me, right, and they're dealing with like depression, they dealt with trauma, I would help them as much as I can. But if there's something deeper that's going on, and it's like, look, if it's like something from a childhood or just something that I'm like, okay, I can't, because you can hear how people are talking, right? You get if you're listening, because like I said, in a coaching relationship, you allow them to talk, right? More so. You're just listening to them, listening to what they say. And while I'm listening to you and I'm giving my feedback, and if I feel like, okay, well, something is really going on, then that's where I'm like, okay, if there's a situation I can't help you with, then I'm going to refer you to a therapist. But so usually, I mean, if you're struggling with depression, you can go to a coach or a therapist. I mean, because you can both help. But if it's something deeper, like, if your 10 sessions with me is not helping, then you need to go to a therapist, and your coach will be able to tell you that. So
Yeah, the more in-depth stuff that you're dealing with. Yeah.
So we're gonna move over to Kishore. So after the 10 sessions have been done with a certified mental health coach, and then it's in your field of expertise, like, then what are you attacking then? Because they've already started the work, the process and the path for unpacking and trying to figure out what's going on. Like, what are your steps to intake this person and get them going so they could get this all out, whatever it is that's bothering them, or figuring it out?
That starts with the assessment process. The assessing and intake process, depending on how the agency that you work for uses it, that's two different types of documents. Your intake is going to usually be the mental status exam. That's going to give me a quick little idea of how things have been going for you within the last 30 days, the mini status exam, to give me an idea of how we're going to be able to communicate with each other. The assessment piece is going to have me going all the way back as far as you can remember to see what the problem could have been and where it could have started. And then the screening is just going to be us looking at whether you are appropriate for this therapy that we're going to be doing, or whether we need to refer to someone else. So all of those things are going to be looked at during that first session. We can use documentation that other therapists and coaches have provided. I typically do not. I like to go in with a fresh start and look at everything from my point of view, but to use their information as a reference point to gain information, because we as therapists, and Ms. Pearson knows as a coach, we are not going to get the whole kit and caboodle in the first session.
Right.
I very seldom give a hardcore diagnosis during my first session. I haven't gotten like most therapists that can do that. I still take my time and I'll do it over 2 sessions. So all of that has to be looked at. Then we have to look at whether this person cognitively is able to deal with what we have going on. Are there language barriers? Are there cognitive barriers? Are there any things that are going to get in our way? We have to look at medical history as well, because what we have started finding a little bit more and more is that there are certain medical conditions that will mimic a mental health disorder and vice versa. So we have a lot to look at before we actually just start jumping into things. Then we look at it from a person-centered standpoint. What is it that you are trying to gain from this experience? And what is it that you are comfortable with? Because there's nothing worse than having a therapist tell you what to do without any type of thinking or questioning about what it is that you want to do or what you're comfortable with. So we have a lot of different things to look at.
Yeah.
Then
That's
we
what
have
happened
to
to me.
look at, we don't want to do that. We want to put you in a position where you feel you are a part of your treatment plan versus being told what to do.
Right.
And then there are times when we check in and say, look, I always tell my clients, we have a new technique. I want you to start this technique, give it a couple of weeks. Let's come back to the drawing board and talk about how you are doing with the technique.
Mm.
If the technique is working for you, wonderful, we'll continue. If for some reason you find that this technique is not working for you or you're not comfortable with it, then we need to go back to the drawing board, because at no point in time do I want my clients to feel that I'm forcing anything on them. I told
Gotcha.
Ms. Fields this didn't work for me and she's still making me do it. No, this is about your care. And if you are not comfortable doing something, I'm not going to make you do anything, because what you're going to get then is more resistance.
Gotcha.
Well, may I?
Oh, yeah.
So when you're talking about comfort, this was just something I jotted down as we were talking, because I wanted to ask. And when David mentioned like the COVID, obviously we know that coming out of the COVID, a lot of people, started to seek therapy and coaching. But we also changed the way that we do a lot of things. A lot of people now a lot of people are working from home. A lot of people are doing things remotely. So have you guys found that like telephonic or video counseling is still as effective as in-person counseling, or do people seem to be more comfortable talking to you when they're in the comfort of their own home, or do you think they have distractions? Like, tell us a little bit about, like, what do you think? Have there been benefits of untraditional ways of counseling or doing your sessions?
There are a lot of pros and cons to telephonic and virtual sessions. For those that have small issue, I'm not going to say small issues, I'll say non-clinical issues. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
If it's a non-clinical issue that falls under things that can be done with solution focus or something like that, a lot of my clients absolutely love it. But there are going to be some times when virtual and phone is not going to be acceptable at
Right.
all. If you are suicidal or homicidal, if you are experiencing abuse or violence or anything like that, I'm going to want you to come and sit before me.
Right. And the suicidal was going to be my next kind of diving into the next thing, because obviously that is, you wouldn't want somebody to, if I tell you I'm suicidal, if you say we're okay doing a telephonic visit or virtual visit, I know you're not a good fit for me. I'm better off calling the suicide hotline.
Is, we don't know that somebody is I've had this happen plenty of times. We do not know we are dealing with suicidal until we get on that call.
Mm-hmm.
And there is so we don't screen certain things. We get all the information during the first session, and then we make a determination on whether we actually feel this an appropriate fit for you. So when I get, say for instance, my phone call saying, I wanted to reach out for services and I want to be seen for this, and this, they may tell you one thing, but when we get in there and start digging around and asking the hard questions, well, I actually was suicidal last night. I have to probe. And if we are on a phone or on a virtual website or anything like that, I have to be able to put on my, radar and do everything that I would do if you were sitting before me. When I find out that you are suicidal or you are homicidal or anything of that nature that's considered mandated reporting or duty to warn, you are no longer eligible for me for virtual at that moment in time. I need you face to face. I need to be making the appropriate referrals if I am not available to be face to face. But I feel comfortable getting my clients to a hospital, and then we'll reach out. Say, for instance, my part-time job now, if I get suicidal or homicidal people, there's a protocol where I actually call to one of our care coordinators. I text them suicidal, homicidal. They already know what to do. And within the next 10 or 15 minutes, the police are standing at your front door for a wellness check. At that point in time, if we see fit, we're going to be taking you to the hospital to get that care, because at no point in time, I see clients in Texas. I'm in Virginia and I see clients in Texas because of my licensure. I can't get to you, but I need to get somebody that can.
Right. Go
So,
ahead, David.
suicidal, homicidal is always, in my opinion, and most other professionals will say that that's not appropriate for those type of platforms.
I've seen
What's
this.
going on, David?
I seen this question in here. I figured we should address it since we started talking about wellness checks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we were told if somebody, it's nobody's business what goes on underneath its roof. Mental health issues don't exist. You just need to focus, get over it, move on. You're just being difficult or lazy.
Somebody
So
needs to get out of denial.
before we unpack that, I want to ask Erica to respond to that question about her experiences with virtual versus in-person coaching, because you know you may encounter people that are suicidal or homicidal, but I'm assuming most of, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm assuming most of your clientele may not fall into that category. So with you, do you see some of your clients benefiting from virtual visits with you coaching?
Yeah, the only thing is through that you can't really, it's important to be able to read body language. Somebody
That's what I was
can
looking
say,
for.
somebody can say, "Oh, I'm okay," but their body language, if their hands is folded and they're like really like nonchalant, you have to be able to read body language. And talking on the phone, you can hear their like communications, like verbal, nonverbal, and body language. Like somebody can say they okay, but you find it that people have committed suicide, right? That said they were okay. So people can benefit from it, but I think that in person is necessary, just because body language is really, really important. You are able to read their body language, and like if your language, what you're saying out your mouth, goes with your body language,
matches.
Okay, but it's important to read somebody's body language.
Absolutely.
And that kind of goes into what David, what Janika Smith had posted about, you know, what we're taught. This is, and I'm assuming she's saying this statement based on how we are raised or what we're taught as we go through life. And like, this has been one of the biggest stigmas with African American community is that, you know, you're just I almost told somebody business, but just, I mean, I know someone that went through a situation in their childhood, and because of the Black community, it went undiagnosed. And then as that person became an adult, they were just like, damn, they could have fixed me a long time ago. But it's like, and then I mean, that's a situation. And I know that two of my cousins, you know, committed suicide. That's probably, and that was what geared my question of how do you separate yourself? Because at the time of, you know, the first one, when he committed suicide, I was like 17, 18 years old, you know, I was barely an adult and no life experiences. But the other one, I was literally an adult, you know, and at the time I was working for a company where we did exigent situations, and a lot of the calls that I got from the police were situations of them trying to find someone suicidal. I'm tracking their whereabouts and things like that. And, you know, a lot of those situations didn't end up where the person was found safe, you know? And so at the time that my cousin committed suicide, that was the job that I had. And that was probably one of the hardest things, because I never went back. I tried to, and then I was like, I can't do it, because like, it was just emotional. So with that being said, like, at the time I didn't have the resources. So when you guys address things like this, or especially in the Black community, like, how do you guys provide, hey, people in the Black community, I'm here for you. Like, how do you guys get the attention of the people that may not know that they should come to you, or are hesitant to come because of how we've been programmed?
Good question.
We'll start with you, Erica.
Okay, so
She's like, wait.
She's like, okay.
In our community, we are told, like I said, if it's not said, then we just sweep it under the rug, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that's where okay, that's where generational curses and cycles happen, right? Because it's not talked about. That's why broken women and broken men raise
Mm,
broken kids, and then the
mm.
cycle continues because nobody wants to talk about what happened. Uncle Fred molested Susie, right? And then Susie's depressed. She's ended up in relationships that she shouldn't be in. So I would say it's okay to be okay, right? And just because you might have a problem, come to somebody and talk about it, because it's okay. It's not um getting that off of your shoulders will be such a blessing. It's like a lot. It will be like just a weight lifted.
Yeah.
Holding that in is such a burden, but once you release it and start unpacking it, then you'll be able to live the life that God intended you to live. But I definitely feel like we got an issue with sweeping stuff under the rug. That's ridiculous. Like,
Right.
I just don't understand. I
And
just,
then when
know,
you go with sometimes people go talk to their friends or, relatives, and then you got to deal with judgment. So, may not be the same situation. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you know,
I don't know if that's something y'all deal with is people like, before I came to you, I tried to talk to my mom about it, try to talk to my dad about it, and try to talk to my sister, and they feel like, I'm crazy, like like Janika said, feel like I'm being lazy or difficult. But in reality, I'm going through something. I need an unbiased opinion because I'm going through something.
listen, people can't give you what they don't have.
That's right.
You can't go to another broken person trying to tell them your issues, because they're going to speak out their brokenness. So
That's
why do you
right.
want to
Mm,
get advice from another broken person? Because they're going to be speaking out of their hurt, their pain, and their experience and their situation.
Absolutely.
are you telling her to
Absolutely.
pray? Are you telling her to pray? Come on now.
No,
Come on
no,
now.
no. Hold
Come
on.
on
It's like
now.
she's
She
like
hit
fact,
it.
fact, fact, fact.
Exactly, like a whack-a-mole.
I
She was
used to
playing
say that.
whack-a-mole with your therapy.
I used to say that to
Oh,
my
Sorry.
ex, man, because I'm like, you getting advice from people that ain't married. So how you gonna get
yeah.
relationship advice from somebody that's divorced, not divorced, but that ain't got no husband or got Ray Rays and Pookies, and they trying to tell you how to run
Mm,
your household.
baby
That don't make no
mamas.
Right.
sense at all. Go ahead, Miss Fields.
Come on,
Go
Miss
Okay.
Fields.
go ahead,
Preach
So
on
spill
it.
I'm
the
gonna
I
go
seen that. I
ahead and
seen
I'm
that
gonna,
church hand.
yeah, I gotta kind of, discuss that theory a little bit. Experience does not always mean correct. Experience does not always mean knowledge. Now,
Mhm.
I have been a marriage and family therapist for many, many years now, and I toot my little horn. I'm good at what I do. Thank you, Lord. I appreciate the knowledge and the
Mhm.
experiences, and I pride myself in being good at what I do.
Mhm.
No, I have not been married, but that has nothing to do with me not having the skill. And I'm gonna sit here and be honest with you, considering
Mhm.
what I see out here in the marriage world is why I'm not in a hurry to get married. So I
Don't.
look
Hey,
at it
listen.
this
It's
way.
still good. It's still good.
My lack of not being married doesn't mean that I don't have valuable information when it comes to the marriage aspect, because there are a lot of couples that I have worked with that don't know that I'm not married, but they benefit from my skill set.
Mhm.
But
So
I think what David was saying was like your cousin Nene them that ain't married, got four baby daddies, or that ain't got no real relationship. Being a therapist, that's
It's
different because
different.
you're
but still
clinically
but
trained.
it works that way for them as well, because at the end of the day, just because someone has not experienced something doesn't mean they lack knowledge. The thing is, people know things and have knowledge about things, but that doesn't mean they're going to use it for the good.
And that
That's
goes
true.
back
Just
to
like I
relatability
know,
and specialization.
yeah, I already know, say for instance, I know that I let's see, let me give an example of something. I know that when you are dating someone, you are supposed to have the conversations and you are supposed to ask the hard questions. Now, as I was dating when I was young, yeah, I knew these things, but did I always do it? No.
So I
Mm.
So
mean,
we have to sometimes look at the fact that people know things and they have awareness and knowledge and they just choose not to do it based on what
right.
feels good or whatever the case may be. So when you look at people that have not experienced marriage, we got to look at why. Is it because
Right.
they know some things about marriage and they like, or are they ignorant to what it takes to be married?
I
I'm just
think that's
saying,
a lot of that too.
but
Go
I
ahead,
guess
David.
touching on what you said, I think it's more or less being knowledgeable and having wisdom in it. Those are the two things, because
Mm.
you could know of a
Mm.
subject and
Right.
be around it, immersed in it, but having the wisdom on how to treat or utilize the tools that require you to have a successful relationship is totally different. Dealing with people that say, "Well, I dealt with this before." Well, why didn't you fix it when you dealt with it?
Right.
A lot of the
Yeah.
things that I dealt with in life, I learned from other people, watching them bang their heads, and then I banged my head because I thought I knew everything, and I was like, I got this covered, and I hit my head. But it's about surrounding yourself around people that are wise in different things that you don't know. Because if
Yeah.
you surround yourself with people that are in trauma or just want to be about the ratchetness, you're gonna basically be ratchet. That's
And
that's
that's
what's gonna
a
happen.
and
That's
that's
what's
a
gonna
big thing
happen.
when it comes to when you start talking about marriage and relationship therapy. That's super important because so many people feel, even people that are married will feel like, I'm married, so I know I've been married 30 years, or I've been married 20 years, or 15 or whatever years, and I know how to give you advice. Like, yeah, you've been married to that man or that woman. Hold on, let me, because Pooh want to be on here too. I just put you on mute because let me know when you can come out. But anyway, when you have your situation is unique to you, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then like she said, like Kashuri touched on this, and I think Erica did a little bit too as well. So when you're talking about marriage and things, you have to ask those interesting questions. You have to set boundaries. I think that's super important. But
Mhm.
you also have to be able to say at some point, I don't think that there's a marriage on this earth that didn't need some type of
Counseling.
professional guidance at some point. You know, me and Mike have been married almost 9 years. We've been together almost 15 years. And we had this thing at the very beginning of our marriage, which has worked for us. We call it our all in. Like, we put on the table, these are things I'm not going to tolerate, period. I said what I wasn't going to tolerate. He said what he wasn't going to tolerate. I think one of us pushed the line one time, and that shit never happened again. But it was like, okay, from this point, how can we make sure that our lines of communication are very good? So we talk, we talk, we talk. Hey, I'm going through this. I feel in this way. We talk, we talk, we talk. But sometimes we've reached a point to where we're like, you know what? Should we go ahead and get professional? Not necessarily, like, it might be more so coaching in this, based on what the explanations. It might be coaching that we probably want to look into. But my point is that, like, having someone be like a mediator, if you will, in your situation, because like you said, David, with your wife, how are you going to people that ain't never been married or that are broken to get advice or things of that nature? So I think that that's super important, because you have to be able to, like, so many people, that's what we're like, it all goes back to what we were programmed to do.
Right.
I think
Well,
Erica was
Erica
okay.
was
Yeah,
first, but
I'm
I
gonna
had a
mute
question.
myself. You do
Okay.
your thing, Erica.
Okay, and you need and people need to be careful about going to people who is familiar with them, because they know your past, they know what you've gone through, and so if you're going to them and telling them that, okay, I'm dealing with this, of course they're gonna say that you're crazy, because they know your history, they know who you are, so that's where they're gonna speak from. So going to somebody that is familiar to you can put you in a worse position than you're currently in, because if someone tells you that you're crazy, that you've been difficult, you are going to receive that, and that's what you're going. And then I'm like, okay, well, since they said I'm difficult, then I'm not going to talk to nobody. because I'm just being difficult. And then if they do talk to somebody, then they're going to go into that with that weight on their shoulder.
Right.
That, okay, I'm being difficult. And that's how they're going to talk to the coach or the therapist. And then the therapist or the coach got to knock down walls that shouldn't have been up because of listening to the people who was familiar to them.
I got you.
And I do that to my little brother a lot too. I'll be like, nah, you ain't gonna change. I said I'm gonna be transparent. I said I'm gonna enter into this conversation transparently. I do this to my little brother all the time.
It was cool because when Verlondon was on here and Mike was on here, we talked about, you know, how dating scene is now versus, you know, how the marriage is for them. Now that I have you lovely ladies on here, I'm gonna pose a question to you. And it's a marriage question. Now, we all know here, we all grown that we're not going to see eye to eye all the time. So in debating or getting into an argument and fighting, what is the proper way to fight or a safe way to fight? Because some people don't understand.
That's an interesting question.
A lot of people don't understand how to approach a debate and safely navigate through it, because a lot of times you will get heated. Some people will overspeak. Some people shut down. What's the proper way to go ahead and get to a conclusion? And I understand that you can agree to disagree, but how do you do it safely without hurting the person that you care for the most?
So
walk away. No, just
not hitting below the belt, right? And so not going into the conversation defensive, because if you already going into a conversation defensive, then you are not active listening. You're just trying to listen to respond. So go in there with an open mind and with not blaming the other person. Just being open to understand, maybe I can be wrong, not going to say, well, it's already your fault. And that's what you're going in. Because if you go in there and say, oh, that it's your fault, then that's what you're going to give out. So just how to approach it, just being open-minded, being willing to listen. And if you're too heated in that moment, take a step back and wait until you are ready to have a conversation, and watch your tone.
Watch your tone.
Watch your tone.
All right, Missy, I got you. Watch your tone.
Watch
all right.
your body language.
Sorry, Kishore, I never unmuted you, Kishore.
That's hard. But it's like, what? Go ahead, Kishore.
No, I realized I never unmuted her, so she was just bopping her head, and I was like, I hope she's not talking. My bad, K Devils. My bad.
And there are a lot of exercises that I teach when it comes to effective communication. One has a lot to do with mindfulness, which keeps you in touch with how you are actually behaving. So say, for instance, Jane and Joe been arguing about the same thing for the last couple of days, and they have come to no resolution. It depends, and I'll ask them, well, do you have a long kitchen table or do you have a hallway in your house? So they say, they said we will have a hallway. Okay, so one of my techniques is to have one stand on one end of the hallway and one stand on the other. As you are having the discussion, as you find yourself respecting each other, speaking, understanding each other, and making resolution, you come forward. As you find yourself getting angry, being disrespectful, really not making sense, all of those things, you step backwards. And if you are moving forward, you are able to make progress and you may get to a resolution. But if you are literally having to walk down that hall and make, you know how you make the fake steps because you done ran out of space up against the wall. If you've been in that spot walking backwards and running out of space for the last 2 hours, I need you to go ahead and opt out of that conversation because you're not getting anywhere. The idea of the activity is to help you to be aware and mindful of how you are reacting and speaking to each other. Because if you keep backing into that wall, the hope is that the light bulb in your head will go off and say, look, I'm not handling this correctly. Now that I know that I'm not handling this correctly, what do I need to do to handle this correctly? And then I have them moving back and forth. Usually, if you can get to a resolution and we are able to drop this situation where it is and we are totally ready to let it be, you should be standing in front of each other and you close the deal with a kiss.
I ain't kissing you, but I'll walk towards you. I ain't kissing
But
you,
the thing
though.
is,
But I'll
as
give
you
you
are
a dinner
finishing,
plate.
but the thing is, the idea is that when you are finished with that discussion, you are able to drop it and move forward. You are no
Okay.
longer in your feelings or angry because you have resolved it to where both of you are now happy.
Okay. I
So
saw
that's the
something
idea.
similar to that on The Good Fight. There's a show on Netflix I was watching.
Oh,
They did
okay.
something similar. She did I think it was like cultural diversity type training. She had them do the same thing. If you have this, step away, or if you have this, step closer to each other, to kind of reflect on the differences and ways to I seen something similar. But I think
I like that. That's a
so
pretty cool technique.
it is. You guys get into coaching with children, trauma and things. Well, how do you so this is an interesting thing because I've been kind of doing research personally on this. So I just want to ask y'all because like I said, I had to really meditate on this approach, and being transparent for me would probably help someone else. Let me just say this. As I was growing up, I like story times if y'all don't know that. But as I was growing up, I went through a really, really difficult time in my life when it came to my health, right? And I never talked about it because I felt like people didn't understand what I was going through. You're not going through what I'm going through, so you can't give me advice. You can say, try to offer your words of comfort, but I was very stubborn to that because I just felt like people that were comforting me were not even close to experiencing what I was going through mentally and physically, right? So then as I started to become a little bit older in my 30s, I started to realize that maybe I should talk more about my struggles because I never know who is walking in my shoes in the steps that I left behind. You know what I mean? So maybe my experiences could help. So I try to open up a little bit more. But what I'm finding now with with my recent medical situation is that it's hard. Like I never would have thought that going through all of what I'm going through mentally would take such a toll on me mentally. And so I kind of looked at techniques to help me deal with physical stress. But I never realized that you think about mental health, you think about depression, and I guess you could categorize it as depression, but you think about depression, you think about like schizophrenia or ADHD or bipolarism, but you don't think about I guess I would look at it as like temporary depression from like physical ailments, right? So when you deal with something like that, like is that even, first of all, let me back up just slightly. Is that even a real thing? Like people dealing with depression or temporary depression because of physical ailments?
Yes.
That brings me back to what I was discussing earlier when we said that we have to look at certain things from a different standpoint because mental health and medical can mimic each other. And I have a lot of clients that will come to me because they are dealing with, I get a lot of the pain management mental health counseling. And it's like, I'm in so much pain, I'm depressed, and I'm this and I'm that. And we have to collaborate to a certain extent with the providers that they're working with when it comes to certain things. So if your provider, say for instance, you're seeing a neurologist for fibromyalgia, that's a painful disorder. I'm here to tell you that's painful. And what it can do, if you are struggling with one, the diagnosis, and then two, the quality of life, your quality of life has changed drastically since you got this diagnosis. So when we say we collaborate, I need to a certain extent, what are you doing with your neurologist? What type of treatment are you having with your neurologist? Are you receiving pain management services? Are you receiving physical therapy of any kind that would be of any help? because those things give me ideas as a therapist on what I need to be working with you on. Do I need to encourage you and talk with you about the importance of taking your medication because you have this pain? Do I have to work with you on the motivation needed in order to go to your physical therapy appointments? Do I have to help motivate you to push past the pain on those days when you are not feeling well, but you still have to go out there and go to work? So yes, all
Right.
of it goes neck and neck together. And yes, mental health still is a component that needs to be addressed, even if you have a medical issue. Because at the end of the day, there are a lot of depressed and anxious people out there that are dealing with the cancers and the fibromyalgias and all of the autoimmune diseases and things like that, because their quality of life has totally changed. And I'll be transparent. My mom is doing dialysis right now, and she is so unhappy. Her quality of life is, yeah, you know, Sylvia, she used to getting up, flying, and doing whatever it is that
Mm-hmm.
she wants,
Yeah.
but she's now limited because of dialysis, and her quality of life has changed, and so has her mentality on a lot of different things.
Yeah, and I can relate to that. So with you, Erica, and the coaching and things of that nature, because I know that obviously she's talking more of a medical type situation. So when you're talking about coaching, do you get people that have these same types of issues that you're able to kind of give them um coaching services to help them through these?
Yeah, so someone is depressed from basically coaching. I can help anyone who's depressed, anxiety, food disorders. Like, we can help with the same thing that therapists can help with. The only the only difference is like how deep we go. So
Gotcha.
okay, so someone is struggling, okay, a health issue, and there's depression. Okay, the coach will help you. Okay, let's focus on this. What can we do to help you get out of the state that you're in? What steps can we take to get you out of depression? What are you feeling? What's changed? So yeah, so we deal with depression, anxiety, rage, anger, domestic violence, trauma. It's the same thing. It's just how deep, how deep
Okay,
we can go.
gotcha.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, like, okay, Kashori, Kashori, I know you mentioned earlier that you are licensed to service Texas and I know Virginia. Do you
Yes.
have any other states? Like, if you do telephonic counseling, do they have to be, or virtual counseling, do they have to be in certain states? Do you have to be licensed? Like if you were to treat someone in like California, do you have to be licensed in California to do that?
Yes, the United States does not have automatic reciprocity when it comes to our license. So what we have to do is go to each state and fill out the licensure paperwork. And with me, the setup that I have, being that I'm licensed in Virginia, I have been told by the upper folks that going from state to state, if you've been licensed in Virginia, all you have to do is apply for licensure there, send all of your licensure package information, your residency information, your hours, your practicums and internships, and just send all your
Your
paperwork,
credentials and stuff.
all of that, yes, and send all of that to them for review. If they have decided that you that met the requirements for their state, they'll go ahead and send you your license. But it is not an automatic thing, and it can take a couple of months to do that. But yeah, I could have the ability to be licensed in all states, but
Gotcha.
it's very expensive for one,
You
and
gonna
two,
say,
if you're not, because you have to pay for licensure every
yeah,
year.
yeah. Don't you have to have so
Mm.
many hours that you like refresh, continue training and
Yes,
stuff
your
like that?
continuing education courses. I have to do 20 continuing education courses every year for Virginia, and I have to do 20 continuing education hours every 2 years for Texas. That's a
Jeez.
lot to
Mm.
keep up with.
Right. And
Oh
then like
yeah,
if you
and then
don't
still
have
work.
and like if I'm not mistaken, I know like when I went to do CAT claims, if you don't keep up on your continued education, you have to pay for how many hours or whatever like that to reinstate. So like if you end up having 15 hours. I think it was 15 hours of continuing education to be licensed for CAT claims. I know it's a totally different field, but licensing is pretty much close. If you don't have your hours, they want you to pay for the stuff you didn't actually acquire for your hours of
Now
continuing education.
that
I
I
think that
can
might.
honestly say I know because for one, I haven't run across that. Praise the Lord, I have not run across. Let me knock on some wood. I haven't run across that yet. But what I do know is that if you do not do your continuing education courses on class, and the Virginia Board of Counseling or the Texas Board of Counseling audits you, they have all rights and privileges to hold your license or suspend it until you complete them, or they call you in for a hearing. It's so many different things they could do during that time, and you are not legally allowed to practice if you do not have the license. And if your homework, so to speak, isn't done, you're not gonna get your stuff. So
What
if
about
they
you,
ever,
Erica? Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, I was asking Erica as a board certified mental health. Sorry, I thought you were finished, so I was like, "What about you, Erica?" And you were about to go into another thought. My bad.
So there's no state or federal regulations on how far I can go. So I can definitely do someone out of state, but we do have to have like get hours once a year happens, but we're not regulated. But therapy is so much deeper. It's so much more like important and so they have more stipulations than coaches.
Gotcha. So
it
what
has
kind
a
of?
lot to
Go
Sorry,
ahead,
go
Ms.
ahead, Kishore.
Fields.
It has a lot to do with liability, because even
Yep.
though all of us do counseling, all of us use the same techniques, every state is going to have different protocols and procedures for mandated reporting and duty to warn. So when I practice in Texas, I have to abide by their duty to warn and mandated reporting rules. When I'm doing Virginia, I have to do theirs. So that's why they don't just automatically say, well, you can jump all over the states, because if I have a suicidal client in Virginia, they have their ways of handling that. Texas may have something different. North Carolina may have something different. Then we have to get in touch with emergency rooms and contacting providers and all of that stuff. And they have laws and regulations that we have to follow ethically and legally when it comes to stuff like that. And if we don't follow their rules, we're in violation of our license.
Gotcha.
Now we also do have mandatory reporting as well. So just because we're not regulate state federally, don't we are still liable.
Yeah.
You
still got to report. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a good one, because with the military, I work for the military right now. So when I give the limits of confidentiality for the military, I explain that we have to report things like suicidal, homicidal ideation, child abuse or neglect, domestic violence, sexual assault, violence against any person, or any illegal activity present or future. But when I am working for Virginia, they do not consider domestic violence a reportable offense. They look at it differently. Now, they're not going to say we're not going to help, but they look at it a little bit differently. And let me not say that they don't look at it. They just look at things a little bit differently. Adult abuse or neglect may not be looked at the same way if it's through the military, or if it's through the state of Virginia, or if it's through the state of Texas. So everybody's going to look at each offense on a different level and respond accordingly.
Gotcha. What kind of resources do you guys have? Like, I know, Kishore, you are Kishore, I know that you are in Virginia, but I don't know if you do or do not do this. I don't think we've ever discussed it, but Erica, we kind of talked about it. You're getting into community resources where you're trying to do some community programs. And before we wrap up, I wanted to touch on that really quickly. Like, what kind of programs, if somebody wanted to, because obviously the three of us are in Kansas City, right? So, and Kishore, if you have something available like this, please let us know as well, because there could be somebody that might come across this video in Virginia or Texas that may want to know. But Erica, what kind of community events or services are you providing that if someone like David and I wanted to come volunteer or help, is there anything that people can do to help that aren't clinicians or board certified coaches or anything like that?
So right now I don't have any events. I am definitely going to hold like a me and David actually gave me this idea. It's going to be called like Let's Talk, where like a lot of
Mhm.
people can just come in and just like it's like a group session where people
Mm.
can be free to talk about their issues and stuff like that. I am also a youth mental health first aid instructor. So I'm able
Mm.
to teach mental health first aid to teachers, parents, community leaders. So I'll definitely be doing that as well to be able to help our young people. Um, and so that we're able to, I'm able to help adults tap into issues that our children is having because they struggle with mental aid too. So yeah, I
Yeah.
will be definitely having some events soon. I'm actually working on those, but yeah,
Let us know.
I'll definitely let you know. So
Let us know. David and I can tap in, especially that Let's Talk. That seems super interesting, to be able to be at a round table with people and just kind of hear different experiences and exposures and things like that.
mhm.
So definitely let us know. Anything that you guys have going on, definitely send us the links and or flyers or anything like that so that we can share them, because this is so important for people
Mhm.
to be able to have resources available to them. And maybe they don't need deep therapy, or maybe they do need deep therapy and med management or whatever, or maybe they just need some coaching and guidance or whatever the case may be. You guys have
Mhm.
options. You both have been on with us and explained the differences in what and how they coincide together, and that's a good thing. So definitely share whatever information that you guys have, any of your like I said, community resources, because I was thinking today, like, I have a cooking thing. I have a lot of followers because I cook,
Mhm.
and everybody keeps telling me, you need to start selling plates. You need to start selling plates. And I'm thinking to myself today on the drive home, like, maybe I need to look into how I can actually give back to the community instead of like
Mhm.
charging people for stuff, like, do some type of venue that is just pro bono type thing. So I like to give back. I like to teach my son to give back. And a lot of people don't realize that there are certain ways that you can still be involved with mental health and medical, um,
Mhm.
coaching without being a clinician and just being present to give a hug or
Mhm.
something, I guess, like
Yeah.
maybe not a physical, not like literal hug, but like what I'm saying is like a emotional hug to someone and be like, you know what, I understand you, because sometimes that's all somebody needs. I mean,
Mhm.
not to say that, not to belittle anything that either one of you do, because we appreciate what you both do, but sometimes somebody just needs to be like, you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if there's anything that we can participate in, definitely let us know. Share your flyers and things. Because, sure, do you guys have community resources with the kids that you work with?
It's gonna depend. We have a lot of different things that are sponsored by the therapist for the kids. We struggle a little bit with bringing in volunteers because of limits of confidentiality.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, services are private. So even though, say for instance, when I worked with the kids, I was not allowed to take pictures with the kids. I was not allowed to
Mhm.
disclose names of the kids that I worked with. And we could have been taking them, let's pretend we took them to Busch Gardens. We weren't allowed to take pictures of those type of things to broadcast that, oh, we took the kids for an event at Busch Gardens today. We couldn't do that because the kids' identities were not supposed to be told. So a lot of
Right.
times they're not going to bring in a lot of volunteers that are not residents because of confidentiality and privacy. But
Mhm.
what I can do is look and find if there are some organizations that have different things where we could squeeze somebody in, because a lot of times when the agencies do outreach programs, they'll go into the community and set up tables and presentation of their community services or of the agency that they provide services for. So if
Mhm.
they would need volunteers or someone that could assist with that, I can definitely find out.
Okay. Definitely. And I just want to tell you both, like, I know we kind of went all over the place with this, but I want to tell you that you guys, I'm sure you've touched so many people just with this conversation, and you definitely have provided like a ton of information. And I was on my best behavior because I didn't curse that much. I think at the beginning
Hey,
when that was it.
you didn't have time. That's why you didn't have time. I was trying to
Whatever.
share this slide, but it's not showing up. You can tell me if it's popping up on your end, but
Try Jesus, not me. Is that what you're
no,
trying to?
no, no,
Oh,
no, no. Okay.
I mean, I think that some of these conversations and topics, like people just really don't know. So it's good to be able to uh, tap into to two professionals in the field and be like, we can do. Hold on, Kishore done went out and came back in. I shouldn't let you back in.
Gangster.
I'm about to suspend you.
My bad, y'all.
Don't
No
be
more technology,
suspension.
raggedy.
But no, I really appreciate the conversation with you both, and just kind of tapping into everything. We tapped into just acknowledging things and differentiating therapy versus coaching. We've tapped into marital situations. We've tapped into clinical techniques a little bit. We tapped into, I think one thing I really wanted to hear was, is that really a thing as far as like the medical, and you guys both nailed what what I felt like I'm going through, because like you said about Erica, you commented on it, and then Kishore, you kind of followed up with saying that when you're dealing with medical things and it does cause that temporary depression or depression period and a quality of life. I think that's what takes the biggest toll for me, at least in my experience with this. I've been dealing with this specific medical situation for the last almost 3 years. And I think the quality of life is what takes the biggest toll on me. So that was like, and then of course, Erica, you just was playing whack-a-mole with your facts, just back. Like we was in Chuck E. Cheese of mental health.
Right.
But
I was
go
trying
ahead,
to
David.
I was trying to bring up the flyers, but it's saying that I can't do it. If I do, it's gonna shut my browser down, and I don't want to get kicked out. I want to get
I'll kick
blocked
you out.
by the host. But that
Suspend you.
the quality of life aspect of things, people don't realize that is generally the root, and that
Mm-hmm.
fear of not actually being able to enjoy life the way you've always enjoyed it is
Right.
always going to steer somebody into a spiral downward, because you trying to tell me that I can't get up and go to the restroom like I've always done, or I can't cook for myself. It's always going to have somebody that's been self-sufficient,
Right.
thinking or feeling a certain type of way.
Right.
I have a friend that was diagnosed with MS, and she's told me that she doesn't know, when it's going to be her time that she won't be able to walk. It's already in her mind turning. My sister, she deals with a lot of stuff. I should be just talking about stuff, but it's the conversation that I have. I try to support her the best that I can, but these are the things that she deals with, with her health things, with her body not wanting to work because she was in a car accident, just trying to get
Yeah.
around, just every day, just walking down the street is hard for her. And, having those conversations with her is rough, because I can only talk from my standpoint of I can walk. I don't know how it feels not to be able to get around and do the things that she can't do anymore, that I take for granted, because this is how I normally get around. But this
Right.
is how it is for her all the time. So, some days she's up and some days she's down. And, I would love to get her linked in with some of you ladies, just to talk to her about that stuff, because I mean, quality of life, I we take it for granted.
We
We take it for
do.
granted.
We do.
And
And
when you
I
said it, it just started resonating. I'm like, man,
mhm.
it's like I just started zeroing in a lot of people I know that are having issues right now, and it's just the quality of life exponent is what's causing them the most heartache and pain. It's not even the diagnosis that they're dealing with. It's just knowing that they can't live life like they always lived it.
And it's people don't realize the depth of that. Like I said earlier, like people see on the surface, but they don't realize the depth. Like that's why I've always been one, and I was, you'll see this in so many of my Facebook memories. I tell people this all the time. I've been doing this since I was little. I've always smiled through my pain. David knew. I texted David 2 hours ago. I was like, man, I'm in excruciating pain, and I was like, I'm gonna take my meds. I'm gonna take a nap. And I woke up at 6. I was like, man, I'm still hurting. He was like, you gonna be good? And I said, I'm gonna just push through it. And if I'm still not good by the time we're done, I'll just go to the emergency room. But you guys wouldn't have known that because I put a smile on so that I could at least try to do what I committed myself to do. And I've realized that Kashori, you know me well. And you know what I'm saying? I have gone through probably one of the roughest times of my life because I cancel a lot of things. People are like, can you cater this event? Nope. I had to cancel a lot of catering situations or whatever I'm, got going on. Can you do a design for this? Can you do me a logo? Sure. Then I'm like, never mind, can't do it. Because I can't, I cannot sit up the way that I normally do. I can't, I'm just trying to get back into my regular life. So people don't understand the depth of that. Like if they don't share with you, you don't know. And it's a hard thing to deal with because it's like you get to see everybody else still doing everything that they want to do and that they aspire to do. And you're still struggling physically, which now makes you struggle mentally. Because you're like, fuck. Ooh, dang, I did so good with all kinds. Dang it!
That was transparency, though. That was transparency, though.
But
that's transparency.
But and that's what I'm saying. The depth of what people go through, you don't see. So people like Erica and Kashori are super important because you can, like, I don't give a shit. I mean, stuff. I don't give a crap. I'll sit here and tell my business because it's my business, But I mean, that's always been my motto, smile through your pain, because people never understood what I was going through. And now those health issues have now caught up to me in a different realm. And now I'm really screwed because I'm too old for all this mumbo jumbo. I'm
never too old for this mumbo jumbo.
Your body don't bounce back like it used to. Body don't heal like it used to. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Erica.
A lot of people smile through their pain, right? And the thing is that if you are not okay, so coaches and therapists, they stress self-care a lot, right? You have to be real with yourself. I'm not okay, because that's where depression kicks in. So when someone submerges or keeps something down and they don't deal with it, that's how depression happens. When you try to keep something in. So just being accountable and saying, okay, I'm not okay. Stop putting on our community. We put on a mask. That's the issue. We put on a mask. Oh, I'm okay. I'm okay. And you're slowly dying inside. That's why so many people commit suicide. If I tell this person what I'm dealing with, I can't tell nobody what I'm dealing with. So they keep it inside. They want to kill themselves, right? Go ahead, David.
No, you saying
no, she's nailing it. Yeah, her whack-a-mole.
I mean, but you got to also talk about the silent killer, high blood pressure,
high blood pressure,
keep going. The stresses that come from not actually talking about this stuff and getting it out.
And that's that was what my accountability. Like, I've been dealing with this physical depression, or I don't even know if it's depression, but I've been dealing with this physical stress for the last 2.5 years, right? So then when my grandfather passed away in February, I had just had surgery. Like, the day he passed away was the first day I even got out the house. And I went straight. I was going to do something, and my grandma called and was like, yo, the ambulance is picking him up. We're going back to the hospital. So I doubled back and came back and sat at the hospital. From that point on, because I oversee all my grandparents' stuff, I was like on go. From that point on, he passed away that night. And I literally had, planned the funeral, dealing with the military, dealing with, trying to coordinate with family, coordinating with the funeral. Like, I never had an opportunity, one, to grieve. I never had an opportunity to try to heal from that 7th surgery I had just had. I had 7 surgeries in 2 years. I didn't even have an opportunity to recover from that. I never had an opportunity to grieve. I never had an opportunity to just sit down and cry. I just had to go. You know what I'm saying? And so about a month later, at the same time my grandfather passed away, my grandma, who this is her husband we're talking about, her brother passed away in Hawaii. So as soon as all that calmed down, then I switched gears from settling all of his affairs to taking her to Hawaii. Then as soon as we got back from Hawaii, I switched gears to we had to go to Vegas for a tournament. Then as soon as that happened, I had already had a trip planned for my 40th birthday. So everything, like literally from whatever till June, I was freaking like tied up with stuff. So then when I finally got to settle, I was just like, I'm depressed. Like I'm just, and I know I'm laughing, but I was seriously like, damn, I think I'm depressed because every little thing was making me cry. I found myself watching nothing but honor walks and military salutes, and I'm just like, damn,
But
you know. But it was that accountability I had to have with myself, that realization I had to have with myself, like, you're not the strong one anymore right now. You are the weak one right now.
and
That
the
was
strong,
hard though.
but
Yeah, but I
it,
mean, you
you
poured
know,
out everything, you know.
right, right. And the thing is that again, we can't give what we don't have.
Yeah.
It's okay to shut people. It's okay to like, look, I ain't having a good day today. Leave me alone. Let me have my time, and then I can get back to you. But you
And
need
that's,
to.
yeah.
But sometimes it's so hard for us to cut our phones off because we're so. What if this person needs us? What if this person needs us? What if I miss this call? But if we are not okay for us, because we're mothers, we're wives, if you're not okay, how can you be okay for somebody else?
Absolutely.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
That's
Like,
right.
like you just can't. So you have
Yeah.
to make sure that you take time for you, and then again, be accountable. Stop say I'm not okay today. I'm not okay. And then know
Yeah.
it's okay to reach out. And again, don't go to people that's familiar because they're going to give you their opinions and not going to
Yeah,
give you
that's what I told you. I'll be in your office. Don't even worry about it. And don't be telling David. I don't want to hear nothing. I'm just kidding. Now David and I talk. But I told you when we talked on the phone, like I feel like, you know, I think your services would help because it's, you know, even just a guidance of just being like, yo, try to do this, unpack this. You know what I'm saying? Like these are different things because like when I came back from at the beginning of June, we came back from my cruise. Then I had a wedding. So literally I was still going. And then the bride from the wedding, she was like, yo, after the wedding, I haven't talked to you. And I was just like, yo, I'm in a selfish state right now. Like, if it ain't about me and my healing and recovery, like, in my treatment plan, I'm making whatever makes me happy. I'm not going to go do anything I don't want to do. I'm not going to get out the house if my body is hurting. I'm just going to, like, I literally had to start telling people after that, like, I'm in a really selfish state at this point, which is not like me normally because I'm normally like, what do you need? I got you. Okay, what do you need? I got you, you know? Now I'm like, nah, can't do it. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Like that's my mind frame right now because that's how I gotta be. That's the only way that I'm gonna get out of this. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way I'm gonna get out of this. And so it's interesting to see, and I think that this is, you know, might be off topic, but it might kind of play into what we're talking about. One of the things I've learned in this process is who is my support system. Because when I went into my selfish mode, which I think kind of put me into a more, like, it hurt my feelings a lot. And again, I just told myself I'm going to be transparent into this situation. But when I went into my selfish mode, a lot of people just, if I wasn't doing something for them, I haven't heard from them. I haven't seen them. I haven't talked to them. They haven't checked on me. So it's kind of like, I don't want to build my feelings off whether or not you were there for me. But I did notice that when you needed something from me and you were taking from my cup, we was besties. You know what I'm saying? When you were needing everything from me, you were here present and, you know, right here. But now that I need you to pour into my cup, I don't know where you are, which is cool. That's what you choose to do, whatever, you know, but you notice a lot when you're in a dark space, I guess, a different space. I won't even say dark space because I still laugh and make jokes and stuff, but you notice a lot when you're in your selfish state, as we say. But don't worry, Erica, I'll be over there.
Oh, okay.
You know?
I got you.
I'll be over there like, come on, Erica. You know, let's do our thing. And because Shori's always been a very good friend because I could call her and be like, yo. I just sit on the phone and like I don't cry in front of a lot of people. I think Ashori is one of the very few people that ever see me get emotional. But yeah, I think that this could touch a lot of people, and I appreciate both of y'all. And I know David was like jumping out his seat for this. He had two shows that he was like super excited about. This one and another one coming up in a couple of, and they are
Yeah.
all giving back,
Yeah,
which is a
yeah,
great thing because I'm big on that.
yeah. I'm
So
excited about that
yeah,
one. But this one right here was one of the biggest ones, just because of the simple fact I know a lot of people that deal with mental health issues.
yeah,
I I even deal with stuff, and I'll be like, man, I don't know how to process or unpack. So just kind of sharing, different ways or different people to kind of link up with and actually, tap in, because that's all it is just being able to tap in and network with people and be
mm-hmm,
able to get that understanding. And
Mhm.
I'm so glad that you ladies were able to come on and give us some of your time, because I know your time is precious. I mean, both
yes.
of you ladies are mothers, so I know you have to tend to your children. I mean, we took 2 hours of your time.
Our bad, our bad.
That's
Normally we
okay.
try to stay under,
Like,
but and
just
you
like
know
That
what?
was,
That's
I had a
okay.
good
Can't
time.
cut it
I
off. I
enjoyed it.
did. Yeah.
We're
yeah,
gonna have to do this again, and
yeah.
definitely the next time. I like to play like little games, so I got my brother and my husband coming back another time. We're gonna play a game, and I want to do that with you guys too from a mental health perspective, like
Okay.
kind of like a what was that show back in the day, like Marriage something? It wasn't like Family Feud, but David, I know you know because you old school.
What's
I'll
that
think
supposed to
about it.
mean?
I mean, you're seasoned. You
You just gonna be
seasoned.
like, oh, you old, dog. You,
I
you
said old
old.
school. I said old school. Don't change my words. I said old school. But you
Yeah.
season like them turkey legs. That's all I'm saying.
Like the turkey legs. Yeah, yeah,
And them
yeah.
collard greens. Ooh,
And
you
collard
should
greens.
taste the greens I made the other day. They were so good. Anyway,
You didn't call me. I seen it on the
everybody said
post
that,
truck,
but it wasn't. It wasn't.
and you but no, 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 no. You know how it is. It's like,
It's
even if it is one of those type of parties, you could always call me.
wasn't. It wasn't even my party though. That's why my
Hmm.
like even grandma was like, "Why you didn't call me about it on plate?" I was like, "That wasn't mine.
Hmm.
All I did was cooked." But
Hey, just
anywho,
just let me
I
know when it's bowling time for the fellas, and I'll be there. I know Mike called me.
we start the tournament on Thursday, but that's neither here
Not
nor there.
not
Ladies,
not
we
not
were
that
they were about to go into a whole different. We about to start talking about 300s, cutting them lanes up. We
cutting them
bowls,
up.
okay? We bowls. Erica, I know Kishore. I've been trying to get Kishore to come visit Kansas for the longest, and I've known Kishore for probably 13 years. I met her in 2010.
Dang.
Yeah, and she ain't
Really?
never been here. Yes, I went
Really?
down to Virginia in 2010. Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
And
Exactly. And you ain't
and
never been
then
here. Because remember, it had been 8 years since I came down when I came in 21.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. I've been needing a vacation for a long time.
And Pooh needs a vacation too. And we can meet you, Erica. Ain't no beaches here like you got, but
No
there's a
beaches.
lot of humidity.
A
It's a
lot of
lot of
humidity.
humidity.
Way too
We got
much.
plenty of humidity around
And
here.
that's about it because the food ain't as good as Virginia. Let me tell you, you know
Well,
what?
hold
Let me
on.
just
No,
come there.
no, no, no. I don't
David
care
can
what
cook
kind
for
of
us.
food.
David can cook. David
I
can
don't
cook for us.
care what food is going on. So yeah,
That's me and
yeah,
Kishori's thing. That's our
yeah.
thing. We go to this place called Plaza Azteca and the seafood place. Dang it.
Captain
Captain
George's.
George's, yes. I've been telling Mike about that place and I've been trying to go crabbing in Virginia for the longest, but that's neither here nor there. And when you go to Virginia Beach, just a side note, whenever you go to Virginia Beach, all of the streets are named after Monopoly streets.
That
That's
is
where my
hilarious.
college is, Virginia.
Yeah, that it was. I was in Norfolk and we worked in Chesapeake, but and Kashori was through the tunnels in Hampton and Newport News, and I'm telling you, I got caught in them tunnels once, 2 flipping hours sitting just chilling. I was like, Kashori, I ain't got no gas. She was like, turn the car off. We gonna be here for.
Jeez,
Yeah, we had some
I'm
great
good on
times. There was
that.
some great memories. And I
Yeah.
was supposed to go to a HBCU while I was there. I was supposed to finish my college there with her and another clinician that are there. So
Mm.
yeah, I was supposed to go to Norfolk
Mm.
State. Anywho, We would
So
love to have you ladies back at some point to kind
yes,
of follow up on certain things, talk about more topics, make sure that the Black community and communities in general know that you guys are available, you have resources, and just like it's okay to not be okay. Because I think that's super flipping important. It's
it
okay to not
is.
always be the strong
Mm-hmm.
one.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
and that was part of the reason why I decided to make sure that I was transparent because everybody that knows me personally knows that I'm always the strong one. In the face of adversity, I'm always just the strong one. And there's times that I'm not going to be the strong one. And so
Mm-hmm.
Right.
it's really important to be transparent in that realm and to be able to do it in a safe space
Mm-hmm.
where like you said, don't seek advice from people that are broken or, that can't pour into you what is necessary and correct.
Mm-hmm.
So we really appreciate y'all. David, go ahead and jump up out your seat.
Jump up out of my seat.
You know how I'm telling y'all, David was like, I'm so excited. I'm
Man,
so excited. And I
I
just
was
can't
very
hide it.
excited, man. I
I'm
mean,
about
because
to lose control and I think I like it. Sorry. You know I jump out of music all the time. You know I would get
I might as
sorry.
well just go ahead and do karaoke now. I mean, God,
Tomorrow.
tomorrow's
Opening
karaoke
night.
night.
Well, not for me. This is my off season. You know I don't do that gimmicks. I do
I got you.
vocals.
So, normally when we get out of here, we like to wrap it up with some words of wisdom. Uh, Instead of it being us, I would like you lovely ladies just to kind of drop a gem or two, just to have people think a mental mantra or so.
Miss Fields, you want to go first?
I just love how y'all just be like, Miss Fields.
Doctor, yes, doctor. Do you concur?
Dr.
I sure do. Which one of y'all going?
Dr.
Sorry.
Fields is going first.
Come on,
Okay.
I need that Dr. Phil moment. Come on,
Um,
come on, fix my life.
Look both ways before you cross the street. Fix my life, Ayana.
I know that's right.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, that threw me for a loop because I
I
was
know it.
something prepared.
Janika,
Oh
come
my-
get your broval.
Oh my gosh, both of
I
y'all are
would,
doing this
I
to me.
would just say,
Uh-huh.
it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be weak. It's okay to be vulnerable because a lot of people don't want to be vulnerable. Again, a lot of us don't want to be vulnerable. It's okay to open up and it's okay to be honest and tell the truth and to hide under covers. Yeah. So it's okay not to be okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's okay to talk to somebody. So
So my takeaways from what you said is watch your tone and it's okay to be okay. Not to be okay. Okay. All right.
watch
That's what's up.
yourself. It's-
Mike says hi to everybody.
Hi,
Hi.
baby.
Wait a minute, it's 9:00. Why is he still up? Girl, he got
Is your mama downstairs making all that noise?
he watches my podcast. He watches our podcast upstairs. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
He watches it upstairs. Now why are you walking around looking like Little Red Riding Hood? Okay. Sorry, Kashori, please go ahead. I should mute myself. Let me mute myself. So you mean to tell me you done talked for 2 hours and you ain't got nothing to say?
She just looked down like, if I don't say nothing, they not gonna realize that I'm still here and I ain't said nothing.
Well, I'm gonna give you an extra minute to think about it because I'm gonna answer Janika's question, which has nothing to do with mental health. But you can think about your shit. I mean your stuff.
Okay, good.
Janika, this season starts tomorrow, but they do gimmicks. So basically, it's like they dress up and act their songs out. So they start tomorrow. I know I don't do gimmicks. My team doesn't do gimmicks. So I do go down to support every opening night. Plus, I created a database for voting, so I have to just make sure that it goes off without a hitch. So I will be there tomorrow. And then we probably won't go back until maybe end of October for non gimmicks, which is basically vocals. We'll go back probably end of October, early November ish. So,
Like how she just said, we don't do gimmicks around here.
well, no,
we do
so
vocals, nothing but the heat.
they have
Nothing but the
yes.
heat.
We did our first season. We did gimmicks, and I dressed up as Baby Spice. If you could imagine that, yeah. And all I did was put pigtails. We did a wannabe song by the Spice Girls, so I was Baby Spice, and I had her part. Um, After that, I was like, I'm not doing this again. When I walked in, it was like you're. I walked into an episode of Glee. I was like, what in the is going on here? But that's my family. I love them to death, and they do their thing when it comes to dressing up and really showing out. Me, I just prefer the vocal performances. So we did live band for a few years, and then we went back to just vocals. So we just alternate seasons. One season we'll do vocals only, and the next season we'll do. Now that doesn't mean they still don't do gimmicks though. That don't mean they still don't dress up, knock their songs out, but that's not what they're judged on. So yeah, no. Now, Kashore, you ready yet? Because I see you didn't hide your eyes. You didn't went all the way down like this.
Oh my goodness.
You was about to float right on off the screen. Like, let me go ahead and hit this. Let me leave studio. Quick. Oops, my,
It's like, what
oops, my
happened?
phone.
We lost connection again. Jeez.
Yeah, you know my phone ghetto. Next thing you know, texting me. Well, I'm just not gonna get back on because my phone done died.
It's like how you texting your phone
Right,
did.
right, but you texted me.
Oh God.
So we
Y'all
can
so
just leave it at
terrible.
that. It's okay
You know
not
what?
to be okay.
You know what? And it's okay not to have words of wisdom, Kashore.
I mean, the only thing that's really pressing me at this moment in time, because the therapy mind is tired right now. But I
Mm.
will say this. I always tell people when we're discussing self-esteem issues and things of that nature, that true validation will always and should always come from within. Because at the end of the
Mm.
day,
Preaching on there. Took you
we
long
look
enough.
at it, I look at it through this analogy. If, all of us work and we get our paychecks, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So we know that when we get our paychecks, we're going to cover our bills and expenses, the desires, needs, wants, everything that we actually cover with our paycheck to survive.
Mhm.
Let's say we met our quota for the month at work and we ended up with a $300 bonus.
Mm.
We know that that bonus is, okay, I can do some things that I want with the bonus, but we also know that the bonus is not always going to come. But we know the paycheck, if we keep our job, is going to come because we survive off of that. So with that being said, look at validation like you would a paycheck and a bonus. True validation is your paycheck. You survive off of your own validation. You have good self-esteem based off of your own validation. Look at everyone else's compliments and validations and feelings about you that are good as the bonus. Because at the end of the day, you survive off of your own validation. Those that give you validation outside of yourself, that's a bonus. And that way, when you are not receiving the bonus, which is the validation from other people, other compliments, or the type of whatever that you may need from them, you can still stand on your own 2 feet and be strong and confident in yourself.
Mm. Mm.
Ooh.
Mm.
Y'all spitting word. Y'all preachers. Yeah, y'all gonna have to come
See?
back because we gonna have to tap into that now.
See,
what you
I
both y'all
knew- I
said. So.
knew-
And now you
I
know
knew
at the
they would
end, just
have
put your
something.
words of wisdom out there. Now you got to get a different one.
Yeah, y'all can't recycle this because we're gonna have this on video.
Oh yeah,
so we
you
know
knew
what
it.
you said the last
Ladies, we
time.
appreciate your time. We don't went into 2 hours.
Thank you.
Mhm.
What?
Bobby, look at that. We appreciate you, Bobby. Look at Bobby. See that? She
Hi,
said that
Bobby.
good.
Hey, Bobby, I
That
need to talk
good.
to you. I'm about to text you. Bobby, Bobby is Bobby is another good shoulder to lean on, though. Bobby's a
Yeah.
good shoulder to lean on. You're not a clinician, but I can't. Bobby, I hope you're not broken because I can't be getting advice from broken folks. My bad.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's funny. I
Bobby
mean,
Boucher.
that's true. You want some
My-
broken
my
advice
bad.
from a broken person?
I can't do it, Bobby. Look at my son. He's over here playing. You know you're supposed to be in bed, right? He said, "Oh yeah."
Ooh.
I love
Lord.
y'all.
Man,
Thank y'all for
it's
joining
been a
the
good
show. For
time.
anybody that doesn't already, we try to keep it. We have good times. Sometimes we get into the 2 hour zone, but tune in every Tuesday,
Yeah.
7 p.m. live
It's supposed to be an
broadcasting
hour,
with
but we're gonna
DJ.
start saying it's gonna be an hour until maybe
It's gonna be a color people
until
time.
we
We
get
on a
done.
color people
Until we
hour.
get done. That's what we're gonna put until done. We just not gonna put
Until
time frame
just put until.
until
Tune in
TBA.
every Tuesday, 7 p.m. We Time Podcast with Tish Kanani and DJ Spin I Am. Thank you to our special guest, Miss Erica Pearson, a board certified mental health coach, and
Yes.
Kishori Fields. Let me look at your title, Kishori. Licensed professional counselor. And I told Erica on the phone, I've known this girl I've known Kishori for a long time, and I still be messing up her licensures.
Wait,
Because
what do you do?
you got an LCSW, don't you too?
No, LPC, LMFT, and CSAC.
See what I'm saying? Too many damn letters.
All right,
I done lost it already. LPC's the only one I know. Exactly. We beefing.
CBC and my CDL. What?
And CDO. Stop playing. Thank y'all so much. We appreciate it. I'm about to
Thank
end
you
this
for
live
having me.
before David goes off. Y'all stand by. Let me end the broadcast. Everybody tune in next Tuesday. It's just me and David next time, so we'll see how funny he is. Adios, amigos and amigas.
Bye.
Yes, he said CDO. He did. And that's why I'm ending.